Today is Africa Day, and for decades there have been calls for the continent to unite towards good governance and economic prosperity. Africa is the world's richest continent because of its vast resources, but has the poorest population. It's poised to play a meaningful role in the global economy due to its young population, only if things change radically. And for now, what exactly is there to celebrate on Africa Day? To indulge us, we have Lerato Tsebe, research assistant at the Institute for Pan-African Thought and Conversation at the University of Johannesburg. Thank you so much for your time. Exactly that. What is there to celebrate, considering the formation of the African Union was essentially for Africa to be self-sustainable, self-reliant and drive its own agenda?
Good question, Cindy. Good morning to you, and thanks for having me. I think that just the very idea that we do have a supranational Africa-wide continental body should indeed be lamented and applauded. I think that there are very many challenges that the African Union is facing right now, not only just in Addis Ababa at the headquarters, but I think also on a regional scale. I think there's a dissonance between what's happening at HQ and what's happening at regional level. There's a lot of programmatic work and a lot of operational targets that need to be set at regional level in order to be able to feed into and strengthening the headquarters in Addis Ababa. I think we should celebrate as Africans the fact that we have something that was founded by people 60 years ago with the Organization of the Union, who had foresight for Africans to affirm themselves and to understand and know who we are and understand the richness and potential of our own continent.
It's often said that Africa doesn't have a problem necessarily. It's not a poor and dark continent. It's got a leadership deficit. What is your response, and in terms of what the AU has done so far in ensuring that there is quality leadership at the helm?
Well, we've now got, mechanisms such as the Africa peer review mechanisms for African governments to put checks and balances on themselves and to sort of stop the narrative of the Europeans or the Western world rather dictating to us as Africans as to what and how to run our own government. I think that we have a leadership deficit, certainly, and that's also due to the fact that African heads of state need to accrue more power into the African Union, not just within the realm of the heads of state assembly, but more so within the organization as a whole, and bring far more non-state actors to the table. I think that the challenge that we have right now is that there is no public interface with the continental organization and the public on the ground, in the same way, let's say, the European Union does, with Europeans, where the interface there is direct on a daily basis. They interact and exchange with the euro as a currency. I think we have a much younger group of a larger, demographic population that's emerging, that's realizing a lot of the deficiencies of the organization and wanting to learn from them, and understanding less so about non-democratic ways of governance, and instinctually democracy is the way within which they want to choose to govern. So this is healthy and positive, I think.
Yes, you were talking about education around, or involvement on a ground level. Often we speak to the initiated or speaking to the choir, and these programs seem to be in silos as well. Do you think there's more integration, cohesion now in the agenda of the AU?
Certainly. I mean, we've got a 10-year review this year for Agenda 2063. Agenda 2063 is sort of the blueprint as to where the African continent wants to be within the next 50 years. And every 10 years we're doing the review, and this year is the first cohort of the review that's going to be conducted and publicized. I think that we have a broader plan and vision as to where we want the continent to go. I think what's necessary now in order to propel that is to allow therefore there to be more operationalized regional targets, as I said, to be able to allow governance to flow into the organization as a whole. And a big part of that is regionalizing and domesticating Agenda 2063 within the regional economic communities around the continent.
Yes, I know it's light years before the de-dollarization of the economy and Africa being self-sustained, having one common currency, and also the gender parity we've seen in other countries where younger, particularly African women, are taking positions within government and other leadership structures. Is that still an area that needs focus and much more resources and emphasis?
Absolutely. I mean, I think a year before the Organization of African Union was formed in 1959, it was actually the Pan-African Women's Organization that preceded the formation of the OAU. Gender parity is not only got its own standing arm within the AU as it is today, but it is actually one of the top 10 indicators of attaining the success of the Agenda 2063. I think we have a long way to go in terms of making gender parity substantively meaningful. It's one thing when it's just standing on paper and speaking or applauding, speaking to the audience rather, and quite another thing when it has substantive, tangible socioeconomic meaning. So there's this chasm that exists between the idea and its actual function. And I think we need a lot more commitment at state and at civil society level to make that a realization.
Happy Africa Day to you, Lerato Tsebe, and thank you so much for your time. That's Research Assistant at the Institute for Pan-African Thought and Conversation at the University of Johannesburg, Lerato Tsebe. Just reflecting on this very significant day as we celebrate Africa Day.